Welcome back to That's BS with me, Brian, episode 17. Let's get right into it. So I know I've said this before. This is going to be a short podcast, and it's like 20 minutes, but I really mean it this time. Mercedes isn't feeling very good, so I got to run out and get her a Slurpee because that's always the cure for everybody. But also got exciting things coming for next week. So this is I might just call this even 7 or 16.5 or something like that. I don't know. But I just wanted to touch on a couple things and then get excited and pumped for next week because some new things are on the horizon finally. But first things first, keto update. I'm down another pound. So I'm down 31 pounds, which is pretty radical, but I'm hitting like another plateau. I know the last time I was doing this, I was taking some supplements because I keep referencing like, the last time I was down, this much more weight at this time, blah, 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 blah. But I was also taking a lot of supplements and like fat burners and stuff. I think I have some left over that aren't expired, which, fun fact, I was told this as a child, so may not actually be a fact, but a lot of times when it comes to prescriptions and supplements and things like that, they have an expiration date, but they're not really real. It's just the level of potency for them dwindles. But don't take my word for it. That's just what I've heard. I think if you Google it, it'll say the same thing. But I'm going to see if I have those lying around, and then hopefully I can expedite this young weight loss. But the exciting thing for next week is I finally got my shit together, and I figured out how to record over like Zoom and Skype and things like that, so I can have my first legitimate guest. Obviously, shout out to the wifey, Mercedes, for being the first guest when we did, the Hot Ones Challenge stuff for season 13, I think it was, for the hot sauces. But this will be the first, like real guest to where we're going to just kind of talk about some things like that. One little sneak peek about this guest is that he is a financial advisor. So if you have any questions about how to handle finances or things like that, put them in the comments below, and then we will see about bringing up those questions if anyone responds. But I mean, hey, last video I had a Russian bot comment on the video, so that's how you know you've made it. But yep, first guest, financial advisor, next week. And it'll be a really good one, and we'll see how it goes. And moving forward, I'm going to try to have someone every single time we do a podcast, and then hopefully do more than one a week, back to like when I first started doing 2 videos a week. But again, I was still kind of ironing out the details and figuring out how to use the computer and do all that fun stuff. But I'm getting better and better each week, so hopefully the first real, podcast will be one for the books. So excited about that. One thing this week that kind of led me to this exciting new approach for the channel is I had a little bit of an anxiety attack on Tuesday, I think, because it's Wednesday, Monday. Had an anxiety attack Monday, like pretty hardcore. And I've had them before, but what I do is I kind of focus on my breathing. I used to meditate a lot. I've talked about, I'm going to meditate. I haven't done shit for that. Same thing with my dream board. I've got a lot of things, but I haven't put it up. I have all these goals, dreams, aspirations, and things like that. And sometimes when you have all these goals, dreams, and aspirations, they kind of pile on. And when you feel like you're not moving the needle, whether that's out of your control or in your control, at least for me, it is a suffocating kind of feeling. And that's kind of where I got to, where I had reached out to a couple of friends asking for some help on, podcasting and, I guess videography, is a way of describing it, I guess. But just kind of asking some friends who are good at this kind of stuff, kind of their advice and how I can do these things. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. I'll help you. But life happens, things happen, people forget, or there's other things in life that are a priority. I was just asking for some help, but I wasn't expecting them to drop everything for it. I'm not talking shit or whatever, but those connections kind of have missed along the way throughout this, 3 or 4 month process of me doing the podcast. And it just started wearing on me. And then I realized I shouldn't be relying on other people to follow my dreams and aspirations and things like that. I should be more proactive in trying to set myself up for success instead of helping somebody else set the table for me to sit at, if that makes sense. Not necessarily the best reference, but hopefully you get what I'm getting at. And then I gotta say, not just because I put videos on here, but YouTube is the fucking shit. I remember when the internet first started becoming like a thing, and now, Google it is, I think, in the dictionary and shit. And whenever you don't know something, you can Google it, or you have this like supercomputer in your pocket, you can look stuff up. But YouTube is honestly such a tool and resource for you. Like I went on there and I was like, how do I video record podcasts for people that are like far away? Obviously, I like narrowed it down and was a lot more intelligent with my search than that. But that's essentially what I looked into, and then I found ways to do it through Zoom, Skype, Teams, anything. But it seems like Zoom is pretty common for a lot of folks, so I'm going to go that route. And then I also have these other platforms, so if other people can ones that they prefer or lean towards, then I can go that route, no problem. So I tested it out on Tuesday. That was yesterday. Tested it out on yesterday, and it was great, and it worked fantastic. And who's going to be my first guest, he and I were kind of like, oh man, how's this going to go down? And then we just ended up, and I just recorded it just to try, and we ended up doing like 30 minutes. I stopped the recording at like 15 or something like that, but we ended up doing like 30 minutes of what I thought was interesting and stimulating conversation, and there was no questions I wrote down or anything like that. And so I was like, all right, cool. I definitely am very excited to take this leap and next step for the podcast. And then after that, I got really inspired and started writing down all the people that I know that I want to have on here or have expressed interest in things like that. So if I have talked to you about this in the past and you're watching, I will be reaching out to you because I want to start doing this every single week. I want to start living this dream of me having this podcast and starting to do a lot of things. And I got to quit, holding myself back, if that makes sense. So I'm really excited about that. Also, really focusing on the dream board, really focusing on actualizing my dreams and aspirations because, you always, and I said this to a friend, and I think I said this before, but the last thing you want to do, and this is my greatest fear, is not fulfilling my potential, but the last thing you want to do is, set the shovel down when you're like one scoop away from hitting gold or whatever, your goal is. So I just got to keep pushing through it, keep that mindset, start, being more, not necessarily obviously proactive about my goals, but like be more intentional. So shout outs to YouTube for helping me with a lot of stuff because I also built my PC for this podcast and also some gaming stuff, which hyped Cyberpunk 2077 came out today. It's already out on PC. I got to wait a couple more hours for out on PS5. But Mercedes is going to go to sleep early, so I decided I'll be a nerd and then buy it on the PC too. So I can do, because you can do like 3 live paths. I'll do like one on the PC and then one on PS5. But anyways, enough nerding out. But another thing about the YouTube, I was trying to figure out like, man, I have 2 hard drives in here. It's only letting me access one. Like, this is the first time I ever built a PC. Like, I was way in over my head and all this other stuff. But then I went on YouTube and found a way, and I was able to find my secondary hard drive, and then now I've unlocked an additional terabytes. So I'm super duper happy about that, and just like little wins like that are always great to check off and just make you feel not only good about yourself, but then also just kind of like, for me, it's like Hot Wheels, those little spinning doodads that when you're doing Hot Wheels, it would like launch them and keep the speed going. So it'd be like a continuous track, like shit like that. Just whenever you get like a small win, and I always say, a handful of small steps leads to a regular step, and a couple regular steps lead to a big step. So as long as you're moving forward and progressing, you're doing the right things. And that's what my buddy and I were talking about on Tuesday when we were kind of prepping for the podcast next week. So yeah, very exciting about that. I'm going to wrap it up. Like I said, I'm going to keep this relatively short. I'm looking at the time. This is going to be like 10 minutes. So it's half of what I usually do when I say it's going to be short. But next week, we're probably looking at like 30 minutes plus because it's going to be good, stimulating conversation. We're just going to talk about, growing up and a lot of things and life going on, but then also get a little financial advice about what he thinks, is a smart move to do with very achievable sums of money. Excuse me, very achievable sums of money right now with everything going on. So thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, this is like episode 17, but really it's like 16.5. I don't know. But I appreciate the support. It really means a ton to me. Like I said, I'm excited, forward looking on what this channel is going to evolve into, because it's going to be what I set out to be. I'm no longer getting in my own way. I've mentioned that before. So just keep moving forward, keep doing the things that make you happy in life. Life is too short to live with regret. So I will see you guys next week. Hopefully you have a wonderful week. Stay safe, be smart, make good choices, and I miss you already.